Welcome to the Dare to Move podcast. I'm your host, Garrett Wood, and I'm not your life coach, just a girl who never gives up. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am sitting here, guys, with the CEO of Pure Glow Organic Sunless Tanning in Boston, and it's pretty cold outside right now.
Very cold.
Lauren is here with me. We actually met because of Pure Glow, which is so fun because I got the experience as actually a customer before being your friend.
This is true.
And I love that about you. So how are you, first of all?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm great. Glad to be here because your studio is so warm. Like it's a fun place to be.
Yeah, that's the goal, especially with, taking clothing off and things. Really important that it's tropical and very warm in here.
Did you actually think of that, like when you chose your location?
Absolutely, yes. You really have to. I kind of had a list of wish things very, very early on, and definitely because it is actually also cold, right? Remember when as the spray is going on, so that is important to to be really warm and comfortable.
Awesome, and I obviously always feel comfortable here, which is why I kept coming back and we became really cool friends, which is awesome. And I want to start today with a quote because anytime I see a quote that I admire, I will write it down. And then when I go through the list of who I'm gonna interview, I'll just be like, oh, that's totally her. That's totally her. So I read this one and it's really just a business quote. It just said, make sure your business is creating a service experience that is so good it demands loyalty. And I want to know how that speaks to you.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great quote. Thank you for sharing that with me, and thank you for having me as well, Garrett. I appreciate it. I think really, the absolute ultimate goal here, as we grow and as I look to kind of grow the brand and grow Pure Glow Studios is, absolutely fierce loyalty. I think that is so important. Of course, growing awareness and really being the leader in the market, that's a huge goal as well, but you do that through this really genuine, loyalty. And so I think this quote is awesome because it's something that we strive for every day, that I think of all the time. It's really an important, benchmark. It's an important metric, and really important when you're talking about a service and an experience, which is exactly what we do.
And I think another thing, just from the customer standpoint, you do have such a service that, most people might think, oh, I'm going to get a tan before vacation, or I'm going to get a tan for this one night out. And I started coming weekly or twice a month, just because it was something that made me feel so good. And we'll get into a little bit more about that later, about how you make people feel so great. But I want to start with, what do you do? So when someone asks you that question, I want to know how you introduce yourself.
Yeah, so truly I'm going to give you the honest answer, and it's not a good answer. And oftentimes I will just say, I'm in the beauty wellness business.
I like that though.
And I keep it vague, because oftentimes I don't really love talking about myself, especially with strangers. So
well, thanks for being here.
So truly, that's almost like my really high level vague answer. But then oftentimes I'll say, I do own an organic spray tan studio, and usually the next question is, are you familiar with spray tanning? Because it is kind of a niche service within the beauty industry, so I don't expect or assume that people know what spray tanning is. And then that kind of launches into how does that work, and a little bit more about what we do and how the non-toxic ingredient and really safer option to tanning is so important and is really at the heart of what we do. Because we're a lot more than just a tanning studio. The idea here is, getting people to protect themselves in the sun, of course, and make really better choices about what they're putting on their skin and how they're living their lives. So
that's incredible. So it's really impactful. It's not just a vanity thing. It's not just about changing the way you look. It's about taking care of yourself, and we'll definitely get into more of that later. But before we go into, how you created this amazing product, I want to know where you're from and kind of the journey that took you here.
Totally. So I grew up in Central Mass, and I went to undergrad in Boston. But as I was, kind of finishing up high school, I really wanted to go to undergrad to college out west. I really wanted to move to Southern California. And very quickly, my family, being from here, vetoed it. Far too, much too long of a distance to be living. And so as soon as I was approaching college graduation, kind of got my dream job in Southern California, beelined it right out there. What I wanted to do 4 years ago, and that really was kind of the start of this journey towards Pure Glow and where I am today. So that was definitely a big part of kind of where I stand now.
And so tell us about how going to California gave you a different perspective on this company, because you didn't start it in California.
Correct.
You started it here in Boston. We're currently on Newbury Street, prime location.
Back Bay, great
Back
neighborhood.
Bay, yes. And so I would just love to know, like, if there's anything that stands out to you from California specifically, or any epiphanies that you had, or people that you met that stuck with you to say, okay, those people inspired me to do this, or that thing, or maybe it was just the journey itself.
Honestly, it was a lot of things. I think, when you're in an environment that is, everyone's living by the beach, there's a lot of sun naturally, wearing a lot less than you would be, maybe with, in somewhere like Boston where there's, 9 months out of the year, it's cold and you're a little bit more covered. People are showing more skin. They want to look good. They just have that exposure. So a lot of times people have more color than they would if you live in Boston. So really, I was exposed to how far sunless tanning had come when I lived in Southern California.
Cool.
And I have been sunless tanning my entire life. Clarins was my go-to product growing up, but I mean, I've tried everything, and really it was something I always loved. But really, when I was living in California, that's when I was first exposed to, wow, how far, really chemistry, but ingredient technology had come at that point, and how these sunless tans now could look so real and so believable and so beautiful. And so that's really kind of got me my thinking. Both my parents are in the medical field, so we have a very medical background in my family, and both very passionate people in regards to healthcare and things like that. So my first thought, based on my upbringing and my background, was I'm not going to put chemicals all over my body.
I love that.
Just, vanity, yes, one thing, but I'm not going to put vanity before my actual health.
Oh, wow.
So that was kind of my first thought, tabled this idea, but I couldn't stop thinking about how much I love tanning, how beautiful this looked, and how maybe there was a way that I could explore this further. So I said, a little research will not hurt. And so that's actually what kind of started this journey into, wow, you really can make these sunless tans healthy. You can make them safe. There are ways you can go about this where this is not a detriment to your health. It's just that that's not the conventional way of looking at it. That's not the way that it's conventionally done. So that was really something that I think definitely was born and kind of happened in California. At the time, I was also exploring kind of the first opportunity, which I thought was going to be my first business.
Ooh, entrepreneurial spirit.
Yes. So I was actually already, that's actually what brought me back to Boston. I was exploring real estate for a business that I was going to open, a fitness franchise actually at the time. And I kind of, as I kind of was still making decisions, do I absolutely want to make this big investment, start this business? I ultimately decided to take a step back, decided not to do that. And I continued this research, and I kind of figured out, how can I get into this healthy tanning space? How can I make this, make what I'm discovering, I'm learning, accessible to other people? Would other people be as excited as I am about this? And that's really kind of where it snowballed.
That is so cool, and I love that you have a little bit of inspiration from your parents, a little bit from California, and seeing where the industry was, and then just being conscious because of like what is healthy. Because I feel like right now, organic is a word that's everywhere, and being mindful of chemicals and beauty products and all of those things is something I'm seeing on Instagram, every other post, and I read about it all the time. But it was actually you telling me about your products that you guys sell here and about what you're doing that even brought awareness to me, and that was in early January 2016. Yeah. And you guys had been open since 2015. Yeah. And so you guys were really almost ahead of the curve in that sense. But the fact that you even have organic, I'm looking at your logo right here, organic sunless tanning in the name, just brings that awareness that makes the consumer think, am I not doing organic anywhere else? Because I actually had the luxury of spray tanning in college. A friend of mine started a business, but it was not organic. And I hadn't really thought about what I was breathing in until that. And so I think what you're doing is really incredible. And I'd love to know what it was that made you jump in with both feet, because it sounds like you did plus or minus 2 to 3 years of research.
Oh yeah, it took my time and really wanted to feel really confident. To be honest, really it was, I think kind of everything happens for a reason. And I think when you have bad times or you have bad news or something bad happens, really at some point I think time will tell that happened for a reason. And I think that's exactly my story. I've been working in Pure Glow for quite some time. Okay. I would say probably a little over 2 years before I decided to actually go full time.
Cool.
And basically what happened is, I was seeking a role with a startup after I decided to put the franchise aside and said I didn't want to move forward with that venture. And so I was brought on, with this small technology startup to help them build out their sales function, very small. And essentially what had happened is we got to a point where I finally made our first sale. And the one of the owners, founders, partners decided that they weren't actually going to pay me. And they decided it was not we cannot pay you, it is not I am so sorry. It was, we are just not going to pay you. And that was something that I was not prepared for and was very much taken by surprise. But more importantly, I felt very disrespected because I worked very hard. I had put, a ton of hours in. But really I cared. I mean, I was engaged, I was there for the right reasons, and I was working really hard for them. And so once this kind of momentous thing kind of just hit me in the face, I said, I need to leave. And, I think this is really the push that I need to go full time. And I had struggled to make progress with the business because I was working so many hours every day for this startup. Yeah. And as soon as I devoted full time to Pure Glow, it just took off. Really?
Oh, that was going to be my question, was like, what, because I know some friends right now, I know I'm in a couple groups here in Boston, and a lot of people are making that jump from being full-time in one thing to working for themselves or starting a business. And I would love to know if you remember like the first day of just being like free agent, like I'm working for me. Like, did you put your CEO of Pure Glow hat on at that moment? Or were you like, did you have one of those like I'm kind of lost periods? Like, do you remember?
I mean, the hat is always on. The hat was on before I went full time.
Oh, I love that.
The hat is always on. But what kind of telling myself I'm doing this full time, it gave me the freedom to really focus. And now I took my energy away from someone else's company and I put it towards my own. And it was just, it was just incredible. I mean, obviously in the beginning, I was still kind of fuming a little bit from an unfortunate scenario. Yeah. But allowing yourself to really go after something that you're so passionate about, it became so natural, and then time flew. I mean, you're never, kind of sitting your laurels, or you're never, really feeling bad for yourself. You're just doing what you need to do, because if you don't get something off the ground, you are going to start stressing out about paying your rent and how you're going to eat and what's next and am I marketable, and all this self-doubt will start to come. So kind of necessity, you work hard because you have to.
I love that. And did you, there are some people in the commercial real estate world, I'm sure, listening, and I'd love to know what your experience was like looking for your first location, because a lot of people talk about the second, the third, the 10th, the 200th location. Like, I really think that the first location sets the tone for the business, and you did I maybe I'm biased, but I think you did a great job.
Oh, I love our space. I mean, we're right in the middle of the street. It's so accessible, great building. We have so much light in here, natural light, that I just love. Yeah. So I love our space. I never want to leave here, but we have been outgrowing it, so things are in the works. But if it were not so small, we would never leave here. And so cozy. But I would say that, that was, really you kind of just, intuitively follow what feels right. You're talking, to everyone, hey, I'm looking for space. This is what I'm looking for. Okay. This is where I want to be. Probably the biggest and most important step, honestly, though, that I took, and this is something that I've done from the very beginning, will always continue to do and think is so important, is all of our clients, our regular clients, our less frequent clients, our really enthusiastic, loyal clients, our maybe, just do this once or twice a year clients, ask all of our clients, if we open a studio, where do you want us to be? And the overwhelming response was Back Bay.
Okay.
Overwhelming response.
But let's take a step back. So you actually had the business from a travel standpoint, right? So you kind of had that. Tell us a little bit more about how it started.
Yeah. So the way it was important to me to start was we started kind of a concierge service. So we would travel to our clients, so their hotels, their homes, their apartments, their offices, any private space that was accessible to them. With good lighting, we could spray them in. So I started the business that way, obviously just to keep costs low. I needed to have time to prove the concept, make sure that people cared about non-toxic ingredients, make sure that people, care about knowing what's in their solution and making sure that it actually is safe. We wanted to make sure that our product performed well, that people loved the performance, it lasted longer, it faded better than anything they had tried. So really the goal was keep your costs low while you prove the concept.
Ooh.
I am so passionate about organic and non-toxic and delivering a safer option. I think that we have a really well-educated, health-focused, community in Boston. I think especially, where we live, really that rings true. But I wanted to make sure that people cared about what I cared about, because if this, if kind of our differentiators didn't resonate, then it's not right to, get an expensive lease with all this overhead and start a team in a physical space if it's not going to go anywhere. So that, our time traveling on the road was really an opportunity for me to prove the concept.
I love
before I took, a bigger risk than I had already, invested and done at that point.
And it sounds like what you've done is capitalize on a really niche thing. And I think niche scares people sometimes. So how would you say that you've used that to your advantage? Or if you can think of anything else that you've done with, I guess I could speak on your behalf of like having more organic, non-toxic products here. Was there anything that pushed you to do other things within the studio to keep it safe, to keep it healthy, to keep the non-toxic, top of mind?
Well, I think what's nice about niche is that it is a challenge and an opportunity at the same time, right? So if someone is not particularly familiar with spray tanning, which is often the case, especially in Boston, this is not Southern Florida, it's not Southern California where there's spray tanning on every corner, every block. This is something that people are overwhelmingly unfamiliar with, especially because of this kind of niche aspect. So it's an opportunity to really educate people. So, why should you think twice about what is in your spray tan? Why should you think twice about the way that the studio looks and feels? Why should you think twice about the way the studio smells when you walk in, the way that the product smells? All these things to keep in mind. So really we do a lot of educating because people are just unfamiliar with the service, what they should and shouldn't do, what they should know and they shouldn't know. And then at the same time, you can really focus in and be the expert on that. So, we don't perform any other services here. All we do is organic spray tanning, so we can be the absolute best at it. We know everything. We are going to be more knowledgeable than anyone else because this is all we focus on. We are professionals. We are experts in this space. And the products we make available for retail are really just designed to support the service. So you have a really good experience with the service. And again, that being, looping back, the focus is the service. So kind of a challenge and an opportunity.
I love the way you said that. And just for you guys listening, Lauren and I are actually filming in the studio, so people watching can see how beautiful it is, but it does smell very good. Yeah. It's all intentional and it's all inviting, and obviously it's something that as soon as I tried it, I was attracted to it. And I would love to know what you think the most important part of business is in general, because as your friend, we talk about business all the time and different business ideas and all these exciting things, and I'm sure everything you've learned here could be applied in another way to another type of business. And so I'm just curious if you have either a favorite part of business or something you think that's the most critical for any business.
I think, to be honest, it's a really personal question, and for me it's been so easy to answer, but for me it's always been integrity. So as we, from the very beginning, this is beauty. This is not, life and death. This is not healthcare. We're not in a hospital. We're not performing surgery. But I really, truly think of it like wellness. There's the right way to do something, and we are potentially affecting people's health for the better or for the worse. So, doing things the right way every step of the way has been the foundation of how I've thought of business. And I think that as you continue to have more influence and scale and expand, which is something, eventually, of course, we hope to do, that's always kind of top of mind for me, is how do we grow the right way? How do we do the right thing each time? So that can be, making sure that our ventilation is far superior than any studio that exists. Ooh. That could be, educating people on what the FDA recommends or what data shows or what research is out there, how to do things the right way. That could be, building out our spaces with sustainable materials. That could be, really considering sustainability when we streamline our operations, or just how we decide to open, close, and perform operations throughout our day. So really doing the right thing, I think, to me, has just always been the leader and how I think of, growing this and just, business in general.
I love that. That's really powerful. Speaking of the beauty industry,
Yes.
what is your take on it? You know, there's a lot of drama within it sometimes with people talking about even beauty as it pertains to marketing, things regarding self-image and self-esteem, and then there's the holistic, organic, natural side of it, and then there's a million products, and you have this this really unique thing that is so wonderful in the space. But how do you, I guess, live in that space in a peaceful way and enjoy it and go through, because and every industry has drama and ups and downs and pros and cons, and I would just love to know how you think of this crazy industry.
It can definitely be crazy. I apologize for that.
That's okay, we can edit it out.
I think that it just comes down to just being yourself, and I think I kind of respond to it the way I would respond to something personally, where just I don't follow the drama, I don't get wrapped up in it. I really try to always focus on why are we here, why are we doing things the way that we're doing, finding that authentic voice. I think that by nature of being in the beauty industry, obviously vanity and personal appearance and societal pressures are definitely something at play here. I think personally, kind of as a culture, within our community, with our team, we really focus a lot on self-love. And that might sound super cliche, and I hate to say it like that, because in a lot of ways, self-care, self-love can sound so cheesy, but women and men are very hard on themselves. And I think, there's a lot of expectations in terms of how we are supposed to look and present ourselves, and what is perfect and what is aspirational, and what is right and what it looks like to be healthy, what healthy looks like. And so I think what we do a lot of in here, because we have the opportunity to work so closely with people, we're spending almost 20 minutes at each appointment working one-on-one with somebody, is really kind of knocking a lot of this negative self-talk. And I think we're fortunate to have a place to do that. I feel like we've created a special space to do that, but the nature of what we do allows us to do that. So, people will undress and say, oh my gosh, I hate this mirror. Please don't look at this ugly body. Please don't look at this ugly skin. Please don't look at, I haven't done this, I haven't done that. Oh, I haven't worked out. Oh, I just had my baby. I'm so sorry. And they're making all these excuses and apologies, and we're able to be here and say, no. Stop that. That's silly. Don't talk like that. We don't accept that talk in here. In 5 minutes you're gonna feel so much better. You're gonna feel so good. So I think that, I feel like we are able to do our part, and this is something that internally we talk a lot about, when we really consciously make an effort to be real and to kind of slap that negativity away, because it's natural. People don't mean to talk that way, I don't think. I think it's subconscious, but I think if we can at least stand up to it when we're in here, then maybe when that feeling comes up again somewhere else, or when they're undressing, or when they're with a partner, or whatever it might be, that they can hopefully feel a little bit better.
I love that. And it's so true, because we all go through that, and as a client, customer, I've been there, right? And you're like, I just don't really feel like taking my clothes off right now. But honestly, what you guys do, it's almost like, I don't even know, like purifying. Like, it's like you come in, you're kind of like, and then it's like you leave like with this fresh coat of like, and for those of you watching, I do have Pure Glow on right now.
As do I.
And I feel great. But you leave feeling like uplifted, brighter, sun-kissed, like the way you feel after like a fun day out in the sun. And it really is transformative. So I love that you just brought that up, because it's so true. And I can speak to it, I've lived it, and that's why I love coming here. And I
good vibes, good energy can really affect your mood in a huge way.
Yes, and the music you guys usually have playing, it's like, it's so inviting. So I definitely love it. And I would love to know, because you are the CEO, you're the founder, you're working in the studio, you're improving the studio, you're growing things. How do you approach time management? Because a lot of people who want to get into owning their own business, or maybe they've recently started and they're just feeling overwhelmed, I love talking to successful people like yourself to give tips on how to do it. It's always, for me at least, it's always something I'm working on.
Sure. I mean, I'm obviously same. I mean, no one is perfect. I think some people are a little more disciplined or a little more focused than others. But I would say, I mean, it really just comes down to self-discipline. I mean, if you're thinking about getting into business for yourself, you really need to have a real conversation with yourself and say, can I work independently? Can I, can I really rely on myself to manage my own time? Because it's not necessarily a natural thing to do, and it takes a lot of effort. But I would say when you're so passionate about something and you're so excited and you really believe that you have this mission that you need to accomplish this, and there are things that paths that you need to cross, you will, it'll be important enough that you'll make that time, you'll get things done, and you'll, slowly let your life back in as well, and make sure that you're finding balance, and that one thing is supporting the other. But I think it really is, kind of head down, setting goals, holding yourself accountable. Did I accomplish everything I wanted to accomplish yesterday? No. What will I accomplish today? And really just, taking it seriously. I think, you motivate yourself, but as long as you, your head's in it for the right reasons, and you have history to be able to get, things done, then, you'll do it.
I love that. And do you have any weird, like, Lauren-isms that you do to stay focused, stay positive, stay organized? Like, I asked this question to someone recently, and they said they did like crossword puzzles every night. Like, their day wasn't complete without it. Like, something like that was just like super unique to her. But is there anything that you do?
I think for me, I would almost say not really an ism. I would say almost just like really honest stress relievers. I think for the longest time for me, it was running. I think now it is really not running anymore. But I would say honestly, just reading, like nonfiction, novels, not reading anything challenging or dense, but just good writing that takes you somewhere else, that allows you to get out of that headspace, kind of get that relief, and then you're really able to like tackle and challenge and think a lot more strategically because you're so clear and you feel so good, and then you enjoy that time. But it's like a little time travel for me, which I've really been digging the last couple of years.
I love that. And do you have a like a, I hate to say this because I don't believe in it, I don't have one, but I like to ask, do you have like a 10-year plan or something where you're like, like if I could write my own ticket and we could be sitting here 10 years from now and I could just tell you as if it's happened, like what it would be? And again, it's always going to change and evolve, but I just like to ask in the moment because I think sometimes when I ask myself, it allows me to pinpoint where my heart's at. So I'm just curious if you have any dreams or plans for 10 years, and it might have nothing to do with Pure Glow.
Lots of dreams, lots of plans, always. There's never a shortage of dreams and plans. All right, I think really think of it more of like a 5-year and a 10-year, but overall, I mean, I definitely want to be able to get Pure Glow in, larger markets where we can make an impact, where we can serve more people, because the goal for me has always been making really safe, healthy, sunless tanning accessible to more people, all people. So that might mean that, location-wise, it's accessible, and then also just, economically, we don't want to restrict. This does not need to be, some high-end service. Something really safe and effective that performs really, really well and makes someone feel so good. We want that to be, more prevalent and more accessible. So the goal would be, ideally hitting major markets and really being able to, to kind of launch Pure Glow nationwide would be awesome.
Amazing, I love that. And I'm just curious too, like, is there anything that you wish you could have known before you got started?
Wish I could have known. I think, if anything, not trying to do things so fast.
Ooh,
Take
that's
your
really,
time.
I like that a lot.
I don't think for me it's always quality over quantity, and that's never been something I've had to think twice about, but I think I put a lot of pressure on myself to do things in a time frame and give myself these maybe deadlines that are unrealistic. But I think you can enjoy the journey, enjoy the process more if you allow yourself a little bit of time. And that's something that maybe over the last 4 to 5 years I haven't done, that I would like to tell my previous self to do. I think that you find a little more enjoyment along the way. You're still going to accomplish pretty much just the same amount. So I'd say just get comfortable with things taking a little bit of time.
That's neat to hear.
So fast.
I think a lot of entrepreneurs want to go. That's just innately a part of you. And I think that is very good advice for someone getting started, because no one's gonna, knock on your door. Why aren't you open yet? If there's no rush. You want it to be just right. And
the thing is too, I think we also, you're putting yourself against competition, and you say, I want to do this first. I want to do this way first, right? Whatever. And these things take time. They don't just take time for you. They take time for everyone. So
yeah,
I think it's sometimes you might worry, I want to be the first to market with this or that idea or this kind of discovery, but it's going to take time for everyone. It's
okay. So everyone listening, be patient. Don't force it. I'm curious, I haven't asked everyone that's been on the show this question, but I've been getting into it recently, and it's fun. What is your favorite moment in your career thus far, if you have one?
There has been so many exciting moments, and so many moments that were not exciting at all in the moment, but afterwards are milestone. But I think that opening this physical space was such a nice milestone for a lot of reasons. I mean, it made our business so much easier. It allowed me to do things that I had really been pining to do to grow the business in a positive direction that I really didn't have the ability to do running around on the road all the time. And then I think being able to bring friends, clients, and family together for our grand opening studio party was such a surreal moment.
Oh.
And I think a lot of times throughout these journeys, you're just running as fast as you can, and you don't take time to appreciate accomplishments, whether they be really small, really large. Everyone can have their own opinion of what an actual accomplishment is. But I think having a party really allowed me to say, okay, look at where we are, look at all I've done, look at everything we have to come, and to be able to just celebrate that with friends and family was really special and was such a high, exciting moment. And I hope that there are more of those in the future.
I'm sure there will be. I'm sure there will be many, which is awesome. Is there any advice that someone gave you that stands out to you when you were either just getting started, or maybe it was recently, that you really just held on to?
I don't think really any advice that came from someone that really stuck out. I think there are lots of little moments and suggestions that I'm so appreciative for. But I would say what I've learned over the years is that you never learn as much talking to people, listening to things as you do from just doing and experiencing things yourself. And I think it took me, after probably 2 or 3 years, I really kind of kicked myself and said, I wish that I had just done more and stopped, maybe almost listened a little bit less and just done more. Because, you're going to learn so much in the process, and you can sit down with mentors and you can, listen to things, but you're never going to learn as much about what you need to know as just getting out and pounding the pavement and just doing it.
That's really good advice.
It sounds so rudimentary, but I feel like it's been so helpful the whole time.
I think that's kind of a lot of what you just said is like what Dare to Move means to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, I might as well try and fail, or try this and not like it. And that's really, I think that speaks a lot of who you are. And I'm just, for the people who don't know you on a personal level, Lauren travels a lot, which is so awesome. You used to teach yoga classes, correct?
I did for about 3 years, yeah.
3 years of teaching, fellow fitness instructor, and she's very, I don't even know how to say it, very curious, I think. You read, you travel, you learn about whatever hobby it is. You have an amazing dog. And
she was supposed to be here, but she didn't want to come to work today. She did not like the cold.
She's a Cali girl.
She is really a Cali girl at heart. Absolutely.
But I would love for you to just talk about if there's any personal goals that you have that you think are challenging you or pushing you inadvertently to be successful in Pure Glow, or whether it's, people from your fitness network that came in to be clients, if there's any overlap between personal and business, especially when this is such a stress-free zone where people really do connect with you about personal things.
Yeah. I think to be honest, right now it's still, because we're still always so much in like this growth phase. I think it's a lot of, don't forget to do the things that you love. I think, getting, college and high school, and then, after college, you're so focused on yourself. And then I think sometimes it's like, hey, are you going for that run? Are you taking that class? Are you reading that book? Are you booking that trip? Are you trying something new? I think that I have to push myself to remember that growing your personal life is really important. So I think right now what I'm also learning is, as I'm getting older, honestly, I'm enjoying things differently, or different things than I previously really loved. So I think right now I'm kind of in this like exploratory phase where I'm almost trying to take things, hobbies and things that I love in, to the next level. So kind of like, how can I explore my yoga practice a little bit more, and how can I think of it a little differently, or but I'm kind of trying to like take things to the next level, because where I stand with certain things, not necessarily bored, but I feel like I need a little bit more.
Okay.
So it's interesting. I feel like every few years of your life, like, you change in these ways that you don't really predict and expect, and nobody tells you. So kind of the things that I've always enjoyed, I'm kind of like needing a little bit more from them. So I don't really have a great answer right now, but I think that the skills that will help you to excel and grow in business are definitely, need to be supported by different things. I think something that I've always really enjoyed, which really is tied to the business, but I haven't always thought of it that way, is lots of creative things.
Ooh.
So there's a member of our team, Akila, who is very creative and has been helping a lot with, branding and some fun things that we're doing creatively, some goals that I have for the business. And it's exposing me to so much more that I love, art of all different kinds, and allowing and challenging my brain to think differently kind of outside of business. And that's something I think that I really should try to make some effort to explore a little bit more, because I just absolutely love it. Architecture and just design and art of all kinds.
That's amazing. And I think it's really, first, there's a lot that you just said that's incredible, but you're very self-aware. I think that that's first and foremost, like the ability to say, oh yes, I haven't really been spending the time on this or that, or I love doing this, but not as much as I used to. I think that's just a really good skill in and of itself that you have. And I'd love to chat about people with you, because you have an awesome team. You always have. I know that you've had some turnover, as anyone does, but there's never been someone I've met here that I didn't connect with. And I would love your, talk to the people listening who are hiring, or who are dealing with people that maybe they shouldn't have hired. And I would love to know how you hire, what you look for, and then also what you tell them first once they're on the team.
All right. Wow, lots of questions. You're going to have to take me back if I forget. Recruiting is so challenging for many reasons, but I think that we've had a lot of success because we've had really great retention over the years. And I think a lot of that really, to some extent, is just luck, meeting the right person at the right time. But in terms of kind of what what I look for and what I really kind of vet for is values. So health and wellness is something that you don't just like, you live. So all aspects of your life, you really live. When you're passionate about something, that dictates your lifestyle. Your lifestyle proves that and shows that and displays that on a regular basis. So a lot of it is, is this something you're passionate about? How do you show that this is something you're passionate about? It's really important to me that our team can very authentically and easily, effortlessly relate to our clients. Ooh. So that is, caring about what you put in your body, caring about what you put on your body, what you do professionally, what is your family life like? How do you take care of yourself? Because we have a very fit, a very aware, very well-educated, very inspiring and dynamic client community. So it's important that our team be able to relate to their likes, dislikes, what gets them excited, things like that. In addition to that, we've talked a lot about, kind of there is vanity involved in beauty in any degree. So it really needs to kind of come back to, people who feel like beauty is the best version of you, not looking like someone else. Ooh. Looking like you, feeling really, really good, because confidence is ultimately, at the end of the day, what we're working with here. People come here to feel good. So we, we're looking for people who identify with that kind of aesthetic, who champion that kind of aesthetic, and also can just really get behind and excited about just creating joy in people's day every day. because that's a huge part of what we do. So if that comes naturally to people, if that gets people excited, if you like working with people, that's a huge part of this job, then the role becomes a pretty good fit for someone who has kind of those attributes and those things come naturally. So maybe it's like those soft skills are a lot of what we're kind of vetting for, rather than,
which sounds harder to do than the checking the things off the list on the resume.
It can be. It's so hard to get to know somebody in a span of 30 minutes or a few interviews. That's definitely looking at a piece of paper, right? We know people are very different on paper than they are in person. But letting someone witnessing that personality can sometimes go a long way.
Yeah, clearly you're doing it right, because I love everybody.
I'm so
and they
glad.
are so personable,
and
that's,
we have a great team.
It makes, going again back to the service thing, it does make the whole experience nice. You have positive, engaging conversation during something that's also a pick-me-up. It's like a win-win, and it really ties it all together. So you should be very proud, because it's incredible.
They work really hard. Our team really, really works hard, and they're here for the right reasons. So I'm fortunate.
Yes, you are. And I'd be remiss if I did not ask you questions for people listening about safe skincare. Is there anything that you can say to someone listening right now, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with tanning, that you just have learned along the way of how to take care of your skin, or how to make sure you're, not harming yourself through chemicals? Is there anything you could say?
Absolutely. I think that the good news for everyone listening and for kind of everyone, where we're at today is that, safe, non-toxic beauty is becoming very trendy, which is really good news. And I hope that, sometimes the word trend I don't love, because that means that it comes and goes. But I think that what's really wonderful about this movement is that people are becoming more, more aware of what is in their products, or what they should look for, what they shouldn't look for. What I would probably recommend is just begin to start looking at your ingredient labels and gravitate towards things that you understand, and maybe start to toss or start to neglect things that you really do not understand. In general, a shorter ingredient list tends to be a good sign. You have less fillers, you have less junk, you have more, you have fewer pure ingredients that are going to get the job done. And really, oftentimes a shorter ingredient list means less marketing. A lot of formulators or brands will put a lot of extra extracts and things in there because they're great buzzwords and they're great to talk about and highlight. But if you have too many of a good thing, you're losing the efficacy. It's just there to be read. It's not actually performing any function for your skin. So I would say at the very least, just start to get comfortable with just reading ingredient labels, and you might be surprised. Just like if you're someone who cares about your nutrition and what you put in your body, you're probably already accustomed to reading food ingredient labels.
Good point.
Just take a quick lay of the land, and I think we all know that the first few ingredients on a label are, make up the vast majority of what is actually contained in the ingredient, or in the product. And then, slowly, in addition to that, begin to pinpoint, as you look at these ingredient labels, what is my body responding well to?
Oh, good point.
So something that I've learned over the years is, as an emollient, as a really good hydrator, I respond really well to aloe vera. So whether that be aloe vera leaf juice, whether that be aloe vera leaf extract, whether that be aloe vera leaf water, it comes in a lot of different forms. Whether that be, the most pure form of it, is my skin really, really likes that and responds well to it. And then I feel good. But we're all gonna respond differently. We're all gonna connect differently with ingredients. Some people are gonna be allergic to perfectly good ingredients. It's not you, it's just your body, and it's okay. But I think that at the very least, when people start to familiarize themselves with ingredient labels, they realize how simple it is to decipher something safer from something that is nasty. And that should be avoided. And then, if there's something you're interested in, you can begin to read our blog. We talk a lot about what to look for. We're doing a lot of focus on ingredient and product education, how to know what's safe and what isn't safe, what are little telltale signs, and just education in general. But once you begin to familiarize yourself, you'll start to see and hear it everywhere, and then it will just become second nature, and it will become so much more simpler than you think.
Wow, that's really well put. Because you're right, if we're worried about what we're eating, why would we not be worried about what's going on our skin? And so when I record my intro for you for this, I talk about my take on Pure Glow. But I would love to wrap this up with you know, giving us your client pitch or your potential customer pitch of just what it is, how it works, the tan itself, why it's so great. I know that we even talked about last year when we went to Tulum about how I was like dripping in pure glow in a good way. Like I had pure glow all over me. But I remember I did not get sunburn. Like there was a small, so I'd love for you to chat a little bit more about that. I know everyone's skin is completely different, but that's another point about why your product is so great, because everyone I know and people I've referred and people I just happen to know that end up knowing you and have used Pure Glow have had an incredible experience, and we all have different skin.
Yeah, it's really incredible. No, thank you for all those compliments. I so appreciate it. I think for the most part, I mean, what we do, we are a service-based business, so we are doing exclusively organic sunless tans, and we do custom spray tans. So what that means is that we're applying this sunless tan by hand, which really allows you to get such a superior application. But I would say, to be honest, it's a combination of things. I mean, really understanding someone's skin tone by asking them a variety of consultation questions is really huge. Understanding, you know, their desired look, what are they comfortable with, what are they aiming for, is a huge part of our process, and I think a huge part of getting a really good result in terms of getting a tan that you really love and feel so comfortable with and feel so confident with. And then in terms of the product, I mean, obviously the combination of ingredients really speak for itself. It, you know, performs better than anything I've ever tried. I firmly believe it is the best performing tan out there. And I think that is such a huge thing, really a thing that speaks for itself. But, you know, more importantly, you're putting something really safe on your skin, and we're creating a really safe environment in terms of ventilation and how things should be done is something that we're very much a stickler, you know, for. But for the most part, unfortunately, the sunless tan itself does not protect you from exposure in the sun. But the way that we look at it is when you have great color, whether that be pretty conservative or really noticeable, you're far more incentivized to protect yourself throughout the day. And whether that be a hat, whether that be, you know, constant sunscreen, whether that be UPF clothing, so protective clothing, you're just far more apt to make better choices when you already have that tan. Because I think for a lot of us, subconsciously, we don't want to protect ourselves because we want the tan. We'll get the tan beforehand or get the tan throughout the year and protect yourself, and your skin will absolutely thank you for it. But I think in so many years of research and kind of keeping my ear to the ground in terms of, you know, safety data and ingredient data and things like that, more and more, you know, a lot of this exposure to the elements, to the UV rays, is so preventable. It just takes a little bit of work. But like anything else, if you can kind of be really conscious and create that habit, it's amazing what protecting your skin will do for your health.
Wow.
Not just for wrinkles, for the aging process, but actually for your health. It's vitally important. UV rays are a carcinogen. They're a cancer-causing agent, and it's something that just isn't talked about enough and is so within our control to prevent and to hope, you know, put us in a better place health-wise. So for anyone that cares about your health, you know, really you can take some simple steps and really make a huge impact.
I love that. And I think it's like, to what extent are you willing to sacrifice your health? You know, like if I would call myself a spray tan junkie pre-Pure Glow, and I say that because people use the term junkie when they're like so obsessed with something, it's like everyone knows about it. And people knew I was obsessed with spray tans because prior to Pure Glow, it was like I was either orange or like splotchy, or had like really bad sports bra lines, or I smelled funny. I mean, you name it. It was just, people knew I love spray tans, but not in a positive way. And now I will get a Pure Glow spray tan. I won't smell. I'll have no lines. Obviously, when you guys spray, there's no lines, but I can, I actually came to you guys during my height as a spin instructor, and I was sweating, you know, I was teaching 3 to 6 classes a week, and I was not getting horrible lines from my sports bra rubbing, and it fades so evenly that now I just have a healthy glow. And there's so many levels at which you have different levels. You guys ask, like, do you want to be dark? Do you not? And you have different names for them, and it's all adorable. But it really does fit the person, like per client, who you're working with, what they want, what they need, what it's for. It's incredible, and I really love that about it. And you even now have the nose plug, so that if it bothers someone, you're not inhaling that. Not that this, I mean, it's obviously non-toxic, so you don't have to worry about it, but you know, it does come back to what's going to keep you healthy. And I know people in my family have had skin cancer and had cancerous moles removed, and my dad knew that I had kind of creeped into tanning as a kid, like a 16-year-old. And when I started looking really tan in college, he would always ask me, is that real or is that fake? I'm like, well, what kind of fake? You know, and, and a lot of times it would be pretty noticeable if it was a spray tan at the time. But you know, he's like, I don't care, spray tan as much as you want. It's so much better for you than...
Every doctor that you'll talk to will say, you know, we have doctors that come here and they'll say, thank you. Like the more that you can create awareness, the more that this is accessible, always a better alternative. And obviously we're taking this one step further, and you know, we really want the ingredients that you're putting in your skin to be super safe and not toxic, which we think is not a tough ask. You know, I really don't think that that's a lot to ask. But yes, I mean, doctors will always, you know, say, you know, 10 times out of 10 recommend a spray tan over maybe indoor or outdoor tanning.
Yes, and to my final question is, what are you looking forward to this year? Because we're sitting here in January, and this will go live in March or early April. So I'd love to know, you know, what are you looking forward to?
So this is going to be a really big year for Pure Glow. We have a few, very exciting, a few really big things that we're planning to launch this year. None of which I'm prepared to share at this point.
That is okay. That will just send all the positive vibes your way.
But I will say I'm so excited to make some announcements, hopefully in the next 4 to 6 weeks. Probably our biggest one we'll be making next, and then we have a pretty exciting one shortly after that. The timing is almost together. Two separate things, but I would say stay tuned because I cannot wait to share. And really the goal is you know, to I think a lot of people, a lot of our loyal community and our clients that literally live across the country that come here and visit us when they're working or on vacation or visiting friends. It should be, you know, really exciting to hopefully be able to share some exciting news for what's coming next.
Amazing. And I'm going to put links in the bottom of the show notes for your Pure Glow is Pure Glow Tanning Instagram.
Yeah.
And we'll have the website down there so you guys can check it out. It's a really beautiful website. And anything else you want to send to me to put in there, we will put that in there and they can find you. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much for
Good
having
luck
me.
for
So
2019.
fun.
And you guys, make sure you're looking at your ingredients on your lotions and come get an organic spray tan with Lauren in Boston.
And reach out for any questions. We're always happy to engage. Love to hear it. Love to help.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Karen.
Talk to you soon.